Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to my Roadhouse. It's an unusual program. It's a different format. Usually we have an artist working in the comic book industry, and today we have a writer who has done some comic book work. Hold on, I'll share the screen with him, and that way I don't even have to explain much about him. We can just talk to him.
Yeah.
Hi, John. It's John Davis.
Hi, everyone.
So, John, what do you think about you and I talking a little bit about comics and
Sure.
a lot about life?
Should we talk about our personal lives?
Would you like to?
Yes. We should
All
talk
right.
about pop culture and our personal lives.
Yeah, because I think I've been since I announced this show with you on it, I've been getting a lot of emails, a lot of questions, and people seem to be pretty excited.
What's the show going to be about? They wondered.
They're probably like, what's going on? Who's this John Davis character? Yeah. And I've been kind of closed mouth about it. I haven't been telling anybody.
I would be mad at me if I were them. Why am I not on the show? Who's this?
Yeah, there were some angry emails, and some of them I answered, some of them I didn't, because they were very angry.
Really upset.
They're like, "What about Mike Mignola?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what about?"
But what about
he was on the Drink and Draw show. We can't have him on every single episode,
But this can give them hope. They're like, "Wait, I'm random. I have a random name. Like it's common that other people have.
Is that even your real name, John?
I mean, it is my real name, but it's so ungoogleable. You can't Google me and find me because it's so common.
John, don't be offended, but I'm gonna have a drink. It's been a long day.
When I was younger, my name is the same name as a guy named the lead singer of Korn, and I was listed and he was not. And I used to get phone calls of people looking for the lead singer of Jonathan Davis from Korn.
Yeah,
and
that's not you. But John, you write though. You write things, not just letters and such.
True.
I don't necessarily have to change the subject, but
I like writing. I mean, that's something I do. Like it's part of it. Part of it.
All right. I mean, and you have written a comic book or two, haven't you?
I've written a comic book. The most famous comic book I've ever written, and it is one of the best titled comic books ever created. Like when you hear this title, you're gonna be like, "Wow, that rolls off the tongue."
What was it?
Eureka Dormant Gene.
Was there like a colon, like Eureka?
Yeah, Eureka Dormant Gene.
Who published it?
Boom. So when you see that title and you're blown away by how mellifluous it sounds, it's like, oh, how come they didn't make that into like a TV show or a movie or like more of comic books? Because it's a beautiful sounding title.
Yeah. Did you come up with that?
Dormant Gene. I actually didn't title it myself.
Was it a gene like a person's name like this, or like a gene like like a science experiment gone horribly wrong?
It's like a pun. It's like both.
No.
Dormant Gene, I guess. Named Gene.
How were the sales?
Not
that that's important, John.
No, it's almost not important. I think they were okay. I remember going to the comic book store, and the guy who ran the comic book store was like, "We're all out of your comic book."
How many did they order?
3.
Oh, there you go. That's a sellout. They sold out.
We ran out. I was like, people were interested in Eureka Dormant Gene.
Like people were coming in and asking for it, and they're like, "Sorry, we only ordered 3 copies."
We already ordered 3 copies. We wish we had ordered more. I mean, the title alone made us want to order 50 of them because who doesn't like that title?
A lot of times in this business, they're like all of us always go, "Well, this would really help the comics book industry. Like if this sort of thing would bring people into local comic book stores."
Right.
And then when you come out with a comic book like Eureka Dormant Gene, people are like, "I heard this new comic." I'm not even a comic book person. I don't like comics.
I hate them.
I hate comics. I don't understand them. I don't understand the word balloons. Why are there words over people's heads with arrows? And then I hear about it, and they're like, "I guess I have to go to a comic book shop now."
And that's what happened. That's what happened.
Wow.
I have a question for you that I just thought of.
Nice. Okay.
Is there anything that you would never draw? Wait, is there a character that you would never draw? Like under no circumstances. Like if somebody was like, I want you to draw Samantha from Sex and the City, would you be like, never?
No, I draw Samantha from Sex and the City. I mean, I don't think I've ever watched an entire episode of Sex and the City.
Right, but somebody's offering you.
But if they were like, Dan, like let's say it was like Scott Snyder was like, forget Canary with the cowboy nonsense.
Yeah.
I got a new idea. It's a spin-off of Sex and the City. It's all about her.
Yeah. Would you do it?
Well, Scott's a popular writer, and I trust him with all of what's in here, my heart.
Right. So you trust that it would be a good story. You would just like, all right, well, I'm doing it.
I normally the guy's known for Batman and some horror stuff like American Vampire and also like Undiscovered Kind, all these big comics. I'm like, if he just on something
Samantha
like that,
with an explanation point. It's called Samantha and then underneath it would be in parentheses you say from Sex and the City, but the title would be Samantha explanation point boom, Wow. And then in the dot would be like maybe like a whoever she's currently having sex with, in this story.
Yeah, I mean this is the whole show pretty much.
Like a guy like, yeah, that's me. I'm the guy.
That would be the cover. Like she's pointing at the logo.
Yeah. She's like,
and
then this guy's like, and I'm getting it from Samantha. She's only 67,
Yeah, that's fantastic. John, I got some bad news. I hate to switch the subject.
Yeah.
A lot of problems at Casa de Pan Pan here.
What's going on?
One of them is it's unusually cold for California, and the heat is gone. We haven't had heat in a few days. But the good news is we have a home warranty, and they promised to be here Thursday.
So they're coming.
Meanwhile, I'm drinking a cold beer, and I'm wearing a T-shirt, and I'm freezing.
How's Christaki? Oh, did you hear about what happened? I mean, not.
Yeah. So John and I, just to update viewers, John and I met. We were both like with our strollers. We each have young children the same age.
Yeah.
And we were on a play date.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
We were on a play date. By the end of the play date, our kids are obviously they're too young to talk. They were like infants.
Yeah.
But I think afterwards we both almost simultaneously said, "I like you."
Yeah.
We were pointing, and the fingers kind of hit.
Almost. And we were like,
and then we just had like a little giggle fest about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we both agreed that Ian Churchill is the best artist.
You were a big fan of Ian Churchill at the time.
Yeah.
I got to ink him on a cover once.
Right.
I think it was one of the X books. And you were like, if you worked with Ian Churchill, I like you. Like,
that's how I felt. But the big drama of the week involving both of our children, and it was insane. I slept through it, but and you might have been working, but Christaki's mom and Henry's mom were trying to get them both in the same tennis class.
And I heard it worked.
Yeah, but it was a race against time. It was a race against time.
Yeah. So that's kind of the amazing. That's what some of the stuff that's going on for us.
Right.
I mean, that might not excite a lot of the people.
Are they? Have you gotten any comments from anybody?
Let's see. I mean, I have gotten some comments. Let's look at some of the first ones here. Someone's at. Let's see. Hold on. I have to go through this. This is important stuff.
And remember that I worked on 24/7. That's really funny.
Oh, you can see the comments?
Well, somebody remembered that I worked on 24/7.
Oh, you did with Ivan Brandon?
Ivan Brandon, spectacular, that
everyone was. Oddly enough, that 24/7 that Ivan put out through Image Comics, I was kind of out of comics, and
right.
Ivan wrote a very strange story about a man micturating in the middle of the night. It was a robot. Obviously, everything, whole story, all this was about robots inhabited. There were no people.
Yeah.
And a robot, for whatever reason, had to urinate in a hall after a night of maybe they drinking oil or some kind of chemical, synthetic oil, I imagine. But it's an unusual story to kind of jump back into comics. But I'm like, here's Ivan giving me a shot at drawing a comic book and coloring it.
That was a spin-off of a comic book, an Image comic called New York City Mech.
Yeah, and Andy McDonald drew that for Ivan.
And I remember that comic very well because you could easily, and this is our good friend, personal friend Ivan we're talking about here.
Yeah,
you could easily offend him by saying, "Why were they robots?" And he was like, "How dare you ask that question?"
Yeah,
and I was, but it'd be fun if you told us, like, what's going on? Why is everybody robots?
It was just kind of an unspoken sort of thing, like, where did the humans go? No, it just wasn't even talked about.
It wasn't even talked about. And I'd say, hey, maybe at least tease the readers. Say, like, don't, like, at one point, just say the origin's coming down the line. Keep stay tuned, because you're gonna find
maybe next issue there's an origin.
But no, he was like, how dare you? Essentially was the idea.
Actually, the real true story how we met is through Ivan Brandon.
Yeah, that's true.
We were having I think barbecue, and you told me that you liked the comic book Prophet, and didn't you have you didn't have a poster up, but you did put some artwork up in your apartment.
I had the cover of Prophet #1, which did you ink that cover? I think you inked that cover.
I inked the cover. Rob Liefeld drew it. This is one of his favorite characters.
And what I did was I was so impressed by how many teeth Prophet had in that particular cover and how angry he seemed that I took the cover off, and then I poked a hole in the groin area of that Prophet cover. So Prophet was like, "Arr!" And it looked like he had a hole, and then I put over my light switch, so it looked like Prophet had an angry boner every time we turned on the light in our dorm room. He was like quoting scripture, but he had a angry boner.
And I remember Ivan being a little worried that I might be offended because we hadn't met before. But
it turned out it wasn't a big. I don't have much of a filter, you don't have much of a filter. It just came out, and it was too late. You were like, you know what? I appreciate it. I thought you understood.
At that point, I was like, someone likes what I did. It was like, I appreciated that. I was like, it's not necessarily how I would have wanted like a reaction, but it was reaction nevertheless. Yeah.
I was inspired by it, man. I can only say that. Like, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Was Kirby based? No, I don't know if you remember drawing Prophet and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, it was the first comic book I actually drew. I mean, I had done some other little stories for Marvel Comics, but I think they were short stories. But Rob was like, I think he sat me down, and it was a very strange. You ever see those police interrogation rooms? But it was more like the Matrix, where it was like a huge, long room, and it was all dark. And I'm like, where am I? I didn't even know this studio was this big. It was like a long, almost airport hangar, but almost completely dark. And I sat at this desk, and there's a light on top of me, and I was like, am I alone in here? This is a little creepy. And then I hear this voice. I assumed it was Rob, and then a little bit of a light shined on him, but more on me, where I was like that a little bit. And he goes, "I see something in you. He said that. He said that. He goes, I think I want you to draw Prophet." And I'm like, I didn't know who Prophet was at the time. And,
nobody did.
And then it turned into like a really weird scenario. Remember Clockwork Orange when they were trying to reprogram that guy?
With the eyes,
peel back his eyes and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's going on? It was like a Liefeld comic book, because all sorts of like machinery, all of a sudden, all sorts of Youngblood episodes and drawings of his. And it was like, I was like, I guess I'm drawing Prophet. Like, you are drawing Prophet. I was like, okay, I'm in.
Now here's a question.
Okay.
Here's a question. There was a character in Prophet named Kirby.
Yes.
My theory is that he was based on like Don Knotts or somebody from Three's Company. I don't know. I wasn't, I thought maybe he was based on something like that, or Mr. Roper. I don't know. It was an obscure title, like the name Kirby. I don't know where you got that from. So Where did that come from? Was that based on your dad or something?
No, my dad's name was Ed.
Okay.
So I don't know what Rob's father's name. Rob's father was a preacher, and I don't believe his name was Kirby.
So I have no idea where to even get. What does that have to do with anything, Kirby? This is just strange.
Well, you have to remember, Rob was at that point coming up with all sorts of characters left and right, and he already created Deadpool. He'd already worked on creating Cable. He created all of Youngblood, and then who knows the genesis of a name like Kirby?
Because he was kind of old, an older, short, almost I don't know. I don't want to say Jewish looking, but but he had kind of a he had that kind of World War II vet look about him or whatever.
I guess you're right. He kind of did. I didn't do the initial designs for him, but you're right. He did kind of have that sort of World War II feel.
But I don't know what he'd be based on or anything. I mean, that's
nobody did. I mean, that was the thing. Rob kind of create mystery there. I remember one time, I was new to drawing, John, and we would get all the pages in, and I'd see Jim Lee drawing the character Emp.
Yeah.
From Wildcats, and Emp was the leader of Wildcats. He's a little shifty.
Yeah.
But he looks similar to the way Rob drew him. And I started drawing him, and he looked a lot like Emp.
Right.
So much so that
he was the businessman. He was I'm in charge of all these Wildcats.
And he always had a cigar.
Yeah.
Which so did Kirby, by the way.
I've never seen
not Jack Kirby.
Who's that?
Jack Kirby's a comic book artist. Jack Kirby has a cigar.
It has nothing to do with
nothing to do with it. Coincidentally, this character Kirby in the comic book, also had a cigar.
Right. Yeah. But they were not related. And they couldn't have looked anything more. They couldn't look more different. The Kirby that you Prophet versus the real Kirby, this Kirby that you drew was on the shortest side, and was always had a cigar in his mouth, and was some I think might have been
hair,
too veteran and stuff like that. But that's not what the real Kirby was like.
You know what? This is going to sound a little crazy, but I think they're
What?
No, I was going to say this sounds like, I don't know. I'm just racking my brain because it sounds like there could be a connection there.
No, there couldn't be a connection.
No.
Would you have drawn anything that Rob asked you to draw for the Prophet series?
100%. I mean, I don't think Rob heard the words no too often.
If you went up to Rob and said, "I want to put Grimace from the McDonald's in this story, and I want to beat the crap out of him,"
no, I don't think Rob would be too keen on him losing
while quoting Bible passages.
You do that. You can put Grimace in there, but Prophet would have to beat him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a Steven Seagal movie. He wasn't
right.
Steven
Was Rob like that? Would he be like, I never want to see Prophet lose a fight? Just like Vince Diesel in the Fast and Furious movies, where he's like, I will not be on camera losing any fight, especially against The Rock. We have those are the contracts. All fights are at least to a draw or me winning for this.
What did you think of Vin Diesel's his very gracious invitation for The Rock to appear in the Furious 10 or whatever?
I mean, that was so gracious of Vin Diesel.
It really was. And it's just a weird thing. We're just reading what Vin Diesel wrote, and we're reading the reaction from The Rock, and I'm like, man, it sounds like he's in.
The Rock, of course, has no leverage. He just has his own incredibly popular other franchise that they created for him. My understanding also is if Vin Diesel would come out of his trailer more often, he might have been more.
Yeah, but he's working. He's probably doing mad script rewrites, right?
Right. See, Justin says.
Justin, let's see what Justin. Let me put that up there.
He says he once got in trouble from his mom for drawing secondary sex characters on Grimace and crayon in the late 70s. From his mom.
From his mother. That's almost like your first editor in a way.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked with an editor, John? You do a lot of. You say you do a lot of writing.
I have worked with an editor before. I tend to like. mean, I've worked with Matt Gagnon. I've worked on editors, and I tend to like them, even if like I don't agree with them. I tend to enjoy the back and forth. You
Yeah.
know,
I was going to do some
draw.
drawing here. John, have you ever seen the Big Lebowski?
I have many times.
How many?
Okay, not as much as like I mean, I'm not a pothead. Well, I am a little, but I mean, still.
Hold on, John. I'm going to switch. This is something interesting about StreamYard. You can switch cameras. So I already started drawing something a little bit.
Oh, nice.
You know, I really like. I really like Donnie.
Oh, Donnie's great.
Yeah.
Walter's great.
Yeah. So I thought I'd draw them. And this is a great moment between the two of them. Donnie, it's unusual, but he's a little bit confused.
He's confused.
Yeah. This is what John. You know what? This is kind of interesting because you're not a big artist guy. You don't like artists. That's the part you never liked about comics, right?
I don't like the art part. My favorite part of comics has always been like the letters at the end. You know,
Yeah.
well, like
Well,
who won the prize?
I'm more of an art guy.
Right. I was more into like I was more into like ads and things like that.
Uh-huh.
You know, like, oh, is this flavor of Skittles coming out? That's why I got comics.
That's why you got comics?
Yeah, I was like, oh, what's happening here? You know?
Wow, I didn't know they had this flavor of Skittles.
I had no idea that these Hostess pies had this kind of action attached to them. But that's what I was in. That's what I was in it for.
Well, this would kind of be interesting because what I'm doing right now, it's called shading.
It does look like it.
There you go. What do you think of that?
I love it.
I mean, it seems easy the way I'm doing it there.
You know what I like is this is kind of like, you know what you're doing in a weird way? It's a holiday picture. Because Walter is one of the most well-known Jewish characters of all time.
Mm-hmm.
He converted, and he doesn't bowl on Shabbos. He converted for a woman who is now his ex-wife, and he still was.
Yeah, I like that part.
The story behind that particular thing. And and it was one of my favorites. I don't bowl on Shabbos. I just like that he has a strong point of view.
He really did have a strong point of view.
I love the movie too. The movie was always like what I loved about the movie was the message, which was like fuck you for watching. That's what I liked about the movie. At the way end, he almost turns to the camera and goes, fuck you for watching. That's like the speech that Ted gives almost at the end of it.
When you saw it, did you?
Sam Elliott gives it the way end. Sam Elliott's like, and now you watch this. I don't know why, but he doesn't say exactly that, but that's kind of why I like the movie, because he kind of was like, you just saw a bunch of nonsense strung together, but two people who are a little bit inebriated. I hope you enjoyed our tale. Like, you know what, sir? I did enjoy it.
I think I saw that in the theater. I'm pretty sure.
I saw it in the theater.
Yeah. John, what do you think is going to happen to the state of movie theaters?
That's a good question.
I was in a movie theater yesterday.
Were you seeing West Side Story?
No, I didn't see West Side Story, but that was close. I saw Spider-Man. No Way Home.
Oh, don't tell me anything about it, and don't tell the viewers.
I'm not allowed to.
It's a big deal.
I'm not allowed to tell anything about it.
We're going back to the theaters for that one.
It was. Can I say it was good? That I liked it.
Yeah. Did you watch all the movies beforehand just to make sure that you were totally up to date?
No, I didn't. And guess who was very upset with me about that?
Elena.
No, Elena wasn't invited, but Dave Johnson and I went.
Oh, Dave Johnson was so mad at you.
He's like, you don't know this? And he kept chuckling. He was like, you don't know this, do you?
He was like, you don't know who all these villains are and their backstory in the cinematic universe? And he was angry at you for not knowing?
Yeah. I mean, when Dave gets angry, it happens pretty often.
I gotta ask Dave if that's true. I mean, I don't know him well, but I know him well enough to ask him, like, are you mad? Are you mad at Dad for not being completely? Because Dave probably expected you to know everything there was to know about Andrew Garfield's incarnation, everything there was to know about Tobey Maguire's incarnation, all the loose threads from what would have been the fourth Sam Raimi movie and the third Mark Webb movie, and you didn't know any of it.
Well, I'd seen some of them. I confess I hadn't seen the what's it called, the Andrew Garfield ones.
Right.
But
according to my son, they're just as good as anything else.
Yeah.
But my son is 7, so everything is as good as everything else.
Yeah.
He's like, he has no discernment whatsoever.
So he sees adult movies then. I mean, well, adult, I mean, they're.
You know what? We do watch a lot of things that are inappropriate.
Oh.
That's true. Like we watch things that he's not supposed to watch at age 7. But like, no one's I can't think of anybody who can stop us. That's the problem. It's not going to be me, It's not going to be him.
Child services.
Yeah, so we're just going to do it, know. And yeah, we've also recently got into watching Survivor, We're going to start getting into watching USC. I mean, UCF?
UCF?
Yeah.
Well, you have a good friend in the UFC.
I do. His name is Josh Barnett, and I have so many questions that I wanted to ask him.
Well, Josh was going to be our special guest.
The question I most wanted to ask Josh, because Josh is really masculine.
Yeah, he really is.
And as somebody already in the chat already said, like I'm like a poor man's Greg Capullo.
Wait a minute, I have to highlight that. Somebody said that?
Someone said, like, oh no, I was a Greg Capullo who's down on his luck.
Wait a minute, let's put that up there.
Like,
oh man, that's a good one.
Down on his luck. Maybe it's a Diet Pepsi or something.
Maybe it's a Diet Pepsi part.
But I bet you Greg Capullo is more lucky in a lot of regards than I am in some ways. I mean, yeah. I'm assuming. But anyway, I mean, I'll take it, Yeah,
you're taking a Greg Capullo comparison.
Any attention is good attention.
Is that the way you look at it?
Yeah.
I remember Rob said that. He goes, all press is good press.
One person just said I look like a more healthy Dave Attell. And remember that girl, Jennifer Field, that I was in love with?
Yeah.
Well, we went to a strip club together.
On a date?
Yeah. And there was a guy in line who looked back at me and he was like, and he turned to her and he's like, what are you doing with him?
Uh-huh.
And she was like, yeah. And she was like, I don't know, I'm just with him. And he was like, he looks like Dave Attell, and Jennifer Field is a very attractive woman. Mm-hmm. And he's like, and why are you, but why would you be with this Dave Attell looking dude? Mm-hmm. And I actually have to admit, that's something that I should have asked Josh Barnett. What would Josh Barnett say if somebody went up to him and said, like, what are you doing with that lady at a strip club? You don't deserve her. What would he do?
I don't know. See, that would have been a perfect thing to ask Josh.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. But you're also like, a masculine fella. I bet you people, like, when you've been to if you've ever been out when you were younger, When
I was a young man.
Anybody ever come up to you and go, hey, lady, what are you doing with this guy?
I don't remember anyone actually doing that, but
they're like, I understand what you're doing with this guy. He's like a hunky guy. I get it.
I remember.
Yeah.
There's been a few instances where I went out and I was getting high fives from people. I remember that. Obviously, I picked the right person to
Oh, they were like, I am so impressed by your masculinity, sir.
Well,
And
no, I mean, it was more like the company I was keeping. I
oh,
think. Yeah.
and they're like, who? And like, let's say you were with an attractive young lady,
Mhm.
nobody goes up to you and goes, "What are you doing with?" Like, nobody goes up to you and being like, "What are you doing with your beautiful wife? How did you get her?
Yeah. They're like, what's going on here?
What's going on?"
Um,
And
yeah.
yet, I almost every time I go out with a woman, you know,
Mhm.
which is why I wanted Josh Barnett to like, what should I do? Should I, as a man, just what I tend to do?
I remember you told me you texted him once because there was some.
Oh, I texted Josh Barnett once because I saw Kevin Smith crying. Kevin
Uh-huh.
Smith was crying because he had just recently saw a Marvel movie.
Oh
And he
yeah.
then videoed or Instagrammed himself, Kevin Smith, crying because he had just seen like Doctor Strange or some shit.
I remember you asked me about that, and I was
Like
like,
he
I
had
can't
just seen
help you.
some bullshit. Like, not that I don't like Marvel movies, of course, but he had just seen like I don't know,
Yeah, I remember you were a little upset about that.
like it's like a turtles or something. Something really like, why are you crying?
Mhm.
Something ridiculous where you're like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's you, man, Kevin Smith. Maybe it's not the movie at this point. Like maybe you're going through issues.
You don't even think it was like a cinematic
I
marvel or
can't.
anything.
It doesn't make any sense anymore because he's just crying his balls off, and he's like what like he's like crying while he's making
Well, see,
He-Man
John, obviously you're not a fan. You read comic books for the
for the for the
ads.
for the ads and the
Yeah,
letter.
you read it for candy ads. You're not the same, like, you know.
Right. But what I'm saying is Kevin Smith crying like a baby because he just saw like Kung Fu Panda 3 or whatever.
I don't
Something
think it was Kung Fu.
ridiculous.
John, I don't think it was Kung Fu Panda 3. Come
Well,
on.
something. And then
All right, it's
I
definitely
texted Josh
something.
Barnett and I said to Josh Barnett, is this
Uh-huh.
masculine? Is this a masculine thing to do? To cry,
Uh-huh.
to cry while watching, Spider-Man, Is that real?
Mhm.
Is that would you as a man consider this masculine?
How did he respond?
And Josh Barnett's answer surprised me
Oh,
because what he said is, no, it's not manly at all.
because you were like, okay,
You
because
thought
this
I was
could
going to go the
change.
other way. That it was surprising that he said, uh, yeah, yes, that is manly. No, it turned out that not only did Josh Barnett think it was not manly, Josh Barnett might have thought it was the least manly thing he's ever seen, and not because of the crying, but because
No.
of the public display of crying, meaning like my emotions are for everybody.
Well, don't you think that takes a lot of strength, John?
My unearned emotions,
But
like
don't
these.
you think it takes a lot of strength? Like, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna show the world that I'm not. No.
Yes. Oh, and this person was like, "How did this guy get his number?" Which is true. Actually, I don't actually. I think I Instagrammed. I think I said it over. We did have a dialogue, though. I mean, he did actually
Yeah,
respond.
Josh is not the type of guy who's necessarily going to be,
It's
just like,
bizarre. Yeah,
yeah, like a Dear Abby sort of thing.
but it was actually a funny response because I actually even said to Josh afterwards, I was like, I just didn't know who else to turn to when it came to assessing this person's masculinity. And
It's
Josh
fun.
wrote back, you came to the right person.
It's
Josh was
funny
like,
because
no, this is a fair question to ask me of all people. Thanks for thinking of
um, we've had Kevin Smith on the show.
me. Uh-oh.
Yeah, he's been a guest
Um,
not on my show. I don't think,
yeah,
especially now after you've
I'm
insulted
sorry.
me. Yeah, but we've also had Josh on the show.
Hmm.
Um, but
Okay, here's a question. Which do you think is more masculine?
okay,
Uh,
what's
Josh Barnett or Kevin Smith?
that's a tough one.
Okay,
Um,
how about I add something to it,
okay,
which is what's more masculine? Kevin Smith fighting somebody or Josh Barnett crying?
let's put it this way: if Josh Barnett was actually crying, I think it's the end of the world. I think there's something for us all to be very concerned about.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that would, yeah.
You know,
what do you think about this so far? You can't see properly because everyone can, but
I love it. I love that you've got the melancholy of Walter, so which is like I'm because that character is still upset that he's divorced.
Yeah, he never got over it.
Getting divorced, and he's still angry, and he channels his anger into yelling at his friend Donny.
Have you ever had a friend like Donny?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You definitely had friends like him.
Yeah. I have one friend. He was a mutual friend of ours, actually, who I would use the word argumentative to describe him, and in that way, he's a lot like Donny.
Yeah.
We have some argumentative friends that we both know.
Yes.
Can't wait to get into an argument with somebody. That's Walter.
Walter loves a good argument.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing right now is called shading.
Oh, that's a good question. Did Kevin Smith cry when
on
you
the
guys
show? On our own show? No.
Yeah.
He was a great guest. He was a really good guest to have on the show.
He is. He's a raconteur.
Yeah, he's a great talker, and I just sat there and pretty much just listened.
I'm sure he won't hear this. I'm hoping he doesn't.
I think honestly, the guy probably has better things to do than to
cut to Kevin Smith like in his house, just being like, "What's going on?
Who are they? Wait a minute! I went on that show, and now
I went on that show. I've never been so offended."
Yeah, and the writer of Eureka.
Dorman Jean, the writer of Eureka, Dorman Jean, my favorite book, and the most pleasing sounding title I've ever heard.
And now he's got a problem with me. Now what? Great.
And to be fair, Kevin Smith, it's more that I'm impressed by your bravery.
I mean, that's what. Yeah, exactly. I think that's what it really boils down to.
I'm impressed by how brave you are about your crying.
You know, John, you know a thing or two about the ladies, and it's safe to say, like a woman, like a lot of stuff that I think, like, oh, I think a woman will like this or that, but a woman, sometimes they like that. It shows vulnerability.
Oh yeah, that's another question I wanted to ask you guys who are more masculine, which is like, has it ever happened to you? Because sometimes what happens to me is I might go on a date with somebody and they're like, you're not, I mean, I need more of a man, you know.
A woman has actually said that to you.
Not like out loud, but you're like, yeah, you like I've been with a woman who's been like, let me just show you a picture of the guys that I usually date.
Wait a minute, whoa. So they started going, okay, here's a picture.
In a couple scenarios where like the woman in question has been like, I don't know how we got on the date to begin with, you know, but we did. And she comes to some kind of realization of like, I just want to give you a sense of like who I've actually dated. And they're like these really tall, like buff dudes, you know.
You're not like, super tall.
Yeah, I'm not. And I was always like, oh, but has it ever happened to you? Or do you think Josh Barnett, or you've been on like when you guys were single, where you've been on a date and the girl's like, you know what? I need somebody shorter and less masculine than you are. You know, I need less of that. like I need a poor man's Dave Attell or a poor man's Greg Capullo. That's what I need.
What if you went to, because I'm at shows and I have like a booth and everything. What if you went to shows and you just put poor man's Greg Capullo? Like Greg Capullo has really long lines.
Right.
And you could go, look, you can't, you didn't get here earlier enough. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to, you know.
Get in line with me. Get in line with me.
And you can sign them, and like the CGC, that's this grading company that does all the grading. They'll be like, all right, it's not Greg Capullo, but he's recognized.
I'll give them more of a conversation. You know.
Yeah, he's recognized as a poor man's Greg Capullo.
I'm like, look, I told you I was the poor man's Greg Capullo. I told you. Yeah. But what I can't offer you is a lot more time than Greg Capullo is going to give you, sir or madam, as the case may be. You know.
Well, you sound a little bit angry because the person that isn't convinced.
Yeah, I'm mad at this person I'm mad at this theoretical person who's like, well, I guess I'll get in line for this poor man's Greg Capullo.
Yeah.
I'm mad at myself for agreeing to be in it, you know.
They should be happy that you're there.
They should be, you know.
Oh,
and by the way, I'm down on my luck. So
yeah, you're also down on your luck.
That's point. Point is, I'm down on, which actually makes it a little. I don't know if it makes it better or worse. It makes it a little bit like, oh well, I guess I'll meet this down on his luck, Greg, so I can give him the story of my hard luck. Here, let me sign this Spawn piece of thing. You know,
well, I'm more concerned like the people that are going to get comic books signed by you.
Right.
And then they realize like the CGC would be like, well, we're still going to grade it. He's the poor man's Greg Capullo.
Right.
But we can't, the signature value is not going to be the same.
Yeah, that's true. No. But I'm willing to sign Quasar, you know, which is one of his first books.
Yeah. You know what? I worked on Quasar. I was the artist. Well, You
worked on Quasar?
Not with Greg. I inked Greg's first Spawn issues, but when Mike Manley was penciling Quasar and I was inking Mike Manley, it was one of my first gigs.
Wow!
And then he took over, and then everyone was like, "Oh, now I like Quasar."
And you were like, I saw the brilliance in the writing beforehand.
Yeah, I liked Quasar too. Yeah. Now I'm doing more shading, John.
Right.
I'm a big shader.
Do you miss Quasar?
It wasn't one of my favorite characters. There are some diehard Quasar fans. I wasn't one of them.
Okay, let me ask you a question, and this is kind of intense.
All right, I can handle it.
If you had to choose, and you only for the next 5 months, you can only draw one character. They'll pay you, but you can only draw one character. The Star Brand from.
Oh, you were a big Star Brand fan.
Yeah. Kevin Connell, I think or Ken Connell was the name of Star Brand.
Wow. So that's right there, I'm impressed because I would never know.
I only read comic books for the candy things, the candy ads, but of course I know who Ken Connell was.
Yeah, everybody.
And what was the name of Quasar though? It was like he had a terrible secret identity. It was like
he did.
It was like he was like
I'm sure a fan will know. Let's see.
It was like Wendell. I can't remember, but it was like.
Well, they're saying I was the original down. I was kind of down my luck, Greg Capullo. What's this?
Yeah, like but Dan, but I love like But who do you like more, Ken Connell or the Quasar?
I mean, Star Brand was kind of a big deal.
That's the right answer.
Oh, someone came up with it?
No, I just said it was the right answer. Oh. You choose Star Brand every single time. It's Star Brand every day of the week. Someone asks you to draw Star Brand, you say, thank you. I'll do it for free. Or no, maybe not. Like, it's better if you get.
Yeah, I got to get paid.
Yeah.
I have to get paid. I mean,
it's better to get paid, you know?
Right.
The only character that you'd want to draw more than perhaps like a Star Brand is the I don't know, Hulk, Batman, Punisher.
Yeah, so
Daredevil.
A character like that, you probably want to do more.
Flash, Wonder Woman, Conan.
Yeah,
but
Conan.
Other than that, you know, that Star Brand's like Star Brand's top of the list.
Yeah, for a lot of artists, Star Brand was like top of the list for who was it? John Romita Jr., right?
John Romita Jr. probably to this day still dreams about Star Brand.
It's like, when can that come back?
He's like, oh man, I hated that one time that I got replaced by Kelly something, and then Kelly somebody, and then John Byrne came on, and I'm still sad that John Byrne took over from my awesome work on Star Brand.
Yeah. Did John Byrne actually draw Star Brand?
Not only did he draw Star Brand, but he changed the title to The Star Brand.
brilliant. That's why he got paid the big bucks. We did we did a episode on John Byrne, but we couldn't get John on the actual show.
Why not?
It's a hard man to nail down, John.
I ever tell you the time that
you told me a lot of stories over the years.
The time I pissed off Chris Claremont.
John, what was that? Remember you told me you were on a lot of these message boards?
Yeah. I was on this message board, and this was years ago, and there was a comic book called Wetworks.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with it.
Probably none of the people listening have ever heard of Wetworks by Will Spertasio.
No, a lot of them have, John. A lot of them are actual comic book fans. So
no, they've never heard of it. They've
never heard of Wetworks.
They've never heard of Wetworks or Will Spertasio, or maybe they have, but
they may have.
They may have. Mm-hmm. So Will Spertasio, and I might be saying his name incorrectly.
No, you're saying it correctly. It's Portasio.
Was working on Wetworks, and at the time, I was on this message board about comic books, and a lot of pros were on this message board, and
did you say Mark Waid was actually on this thing?
Mark Waid, like a lot of people, a lot of well-known people, Kurt Busiek, like Chris Claremont, like Peter David, like lots and lots of people were on it. James Hudnall, obviously one of your favorites. Bill Willingham.
I love Bill Willingham was a gaming guy.
Yeah. And so I wrote a post about Wetworks because between issues 1 and 2, Wetworks was very late. And between issues 1 and 2 of Wetworks, which was like about 9 months, I graduated high school, lost my virginity. Like a lot of things had happened in my life between issues 1 and 2 of Wetworks. And I decided I thought I'd celebrate that so that when issue number 2 of Wetworks came out, I could tell everybody all the rites of passages I had been through over the 9 months between issues. Chris Claremont did not like that post.
So they didn't have the like button back then, but he didn't hit it, is what you're saying.
He hated the post, and he really gave it to me. What I didn't know at the time was that Will Spertasio had a very good reason why he was late on Wetworks that had to do with his personal life. But I was just some sarcastic kid, like, just typing, I didn't know stuff. I didn't know about all these other things. And he basically like reamed me out on this comic book board.
So you got reamed out by Chris Claremont.
I remember I was a huge Chris Claremont fan because I like read all of X-Men, and I'm like, oh my God. And to me, he was a celebrity. And I'm like, oh, this is how I get to meet my celebrity, by him yelling at me.
Well, it sounds like you were rude, John.
I was. I was. I couldn't help myself sometimes. I was kind of
but that was the hill you were like, I'm going to die on this hill.
Yeah, I was my favorite interaction that I had with was I went to Chicago, like this guy who went to the Chicago Con. I went to the Chicago Con, and Rob Liefeld was doing autographs. Or he was signing books, and I showed up, and I decided to get in line for the book signing because I was so excited. But I also wanted to pitch him my idea of something that I called I wanted to pitch him something called Bad Rock Highway, in which his character Bad Rock was melted into the ground, and we just told the stories of the people who drove over the highway in which Bad Rock was melted into.
You've often pitched me Bad Rock Highway, and you're always asking me, can you bring it up with Rob?
I think Bad Rock Highway would have been the stray bullets of the night of the other stray bullets. It would have been, people would have been like, Stray Bullets plus Bad Rock Highway are my 2 favorite anthology books. And I was dead serious when I like went up to him, and I was like, And I only had one book with me because I just wanted to get in line to have him hear my pitch.
Uh-huh.
and then I was like, oh, I've got a night. And there was a guy ahead of me who was like, do you know how many signatures Todd McFarlane did yesterday? And he was like really like haughty about it. And I was like, 1 million? And he got mad. He was like, no, that's impossible. I overshot the guess, You always ruin things when you overshoot the guess. Like, he's like, you know how many of this I had the other day? And you're like, 8 billion? Like, no, I had 9 hot dogs, not a billion. You ruined it.
I think you had a Chapel idea too. Chapel's another Youngblood character.
Oh, and I had him sign my one comic book 5 times instead of having 5 different signatures for 5 times.
You might be the first person who's ever had someone sign a comic book 5 times.
Yeah, and I was like, this will make it worth like 50% more. That's what I said, and the guy said, this guy pitched Concrete Boulevard to Paul Chadwick. Same idea.
Mm-hmm. A sad look, John. On
he just
Walter.
Got divorced.
Yeah, just got divorced, and Donnie isn't making it much easier for him.
Husky Boyo wants to know if I worked on the soundtracks of other related of. I didn't. I'm mostly like a script writer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm mostly known, obviously, for John Davis Gets a Sex Robot, and of course the first draft of Dukes of Hazzard movie, which everybody talks about.
Yeah, how come that's on the mind of everybody?
Tell me more about the first draft of the Dukes of Hazzard movie with Jessica Simpson.
Yeah.
Was she nice? Yes, she was very nice, Jessica Simpson.
Yeah, people look at that. Whoops, no, let's see here. Hold on. Yeehaw. Sorry. I pitched Concrete Boulevard to Paul Chadwick, same premise. Justin.
Would you... Bad Rock Highway would have been a good one.
Yeah. There's a Facebook user. Hell, I remember Wetworks.
He damn sure does remember Wetworks.
Yeah.
Remember, it was such a ridiculous comic book because it was like, okay, we're all Oscar statues and we're in a superhero group. I think that was the idea. It was like Oscar statue superhero group.
Yeah.
So
you had a lot of winners. I mean, it wasn't just Eureka, Dominant Gene or Dormant Gene. No. We had a lot of good ideas.
Oh, there's Eureka, Dormant Gene, which is which is one of the best comic books ever made. Mm-hmm. Then there's the Doctor Who annual. There's
Doctor Who annual.
My work, I think I worked on Doctor Who annual. Then there was obviously my work on 24/7. Mm-hmm. The first draft of Dukes of Hazzard.
John, you also know a lot of tough guys, like Josh Barnett, and you're friends with who's that pro wrestler? It's kind of a big deal, and he was in John Davis.
Oh, Chris Jericho. I'm also friends with Chris Jericho.
Yeah, remember he was in your TV, John Davis Gets a Sex Robot thing.
And he was masculine as hell and really nice.
Isn't he also like a pseudo musician, or like he could?
Yeah. Fozzy. He's the lead singer and I think the lead overall of Fozzy, the band Fozzy.
Mm-hmm. John, if someone wanted to see John Davis Gets a Sex Robot,
just type it in, like this.
Why do you have to do it like that? Jeez.
You'll get there faster.
Oh my God. Wow. Is it on YouTube or anything?
On YouTube. You can see it on YouTube. I mean, you're going to be like both sad. You'll laugh. You'll also be like, ugh, this.
Yeah.
But you'll laugh. Yeah.
I'm more of a Vimeo guy. It's like,
yeah.
I like Vimeo, but
that's what they'll say. They'll say like, the sound's not great. This looks a little low rent. How did they get these people in it? That's what they'll wonder.
Yeah.
They're like, because that.
Is it like an A24 film? Is it like an A24 film?
Yes, in the sense that it's low budget, but not in the sense in terms of the quality necessarily. Yeah. Like when you watch an A24 film, you're sitting down and be like, I'm going to see something that's going to...
John, did you see The Green Knight?
I never saw The Green Knight.
Would you like to?
Yes.
Oh, well, there you go. I saw it.
Did you love it?
I liked it.
Who would you rather draw a comic book about? The Green Knight or Starbrand? Or Kirby from Prophet? Just Kirby.
I think if I drew Kirby from Prophet, it'd probably be more profitable than those two. But Green Knight was interesting. I mean, just because I'm, I like the Conan stuff, I'd probably draw the Green Knight character, but he's not like the. It's a very interesting cerebral film.
Okay, when would you do this? If Rob Liefeld went up to you and said, "I want you to do a Kirby comic book,"
I've never said the word no to Rob. Like I've never
10 issues, and it all has to take place in one room. Go.
Easy. I wouldn't have to use a whole lot of reference for the backgrounds.
Yeah, no backgrounds. It's all about like the witticisms. It's like, have you ever seen like one of those like, oh, I'm gonna watch the wit to Mark Twain? You know that thing where you sit like in a seat and you just listen to a guy who's not Mark Twain because Mark Twain died, but a guy pretending to be Mark Twain, like just getting up on a stage being like, oh, I came in with the comment and I left with a beard or whatever those guys say, You're like, fuck you, basically.
Yeah, Mark Twain was. Yeah, no, I've seen some of the. Didn't Val Kilmer do like a Mark Twain?
Right, but you have to do that with Kirby, and just Kirby being like, "Oh, I have these witticisms I'm going to say for 10 issues."
So 10 issues of a comic book where the character Kirby from Prophet is sitting in like kind of a chair and just talking. And but like if a flashback happens, like he's telling a story, we don't actually see that drawing.
No, this is like Aaron Sorkin level dialogue that you have to bring. Like you have to bring it has to be like, holy crap. I mean, you can have other characters, but holy crap, this is like Succession, like episode 2, season 3 level good. You're like, wow. Yeah. Like just this
Kirby really has some stories, and he has been through a lot. Like it was kind of hinted at in a lot of the Prophet books. He's seen some things.
Right. He's seen some things, and it's like David Mamet. It's just the way he says it, and it's Kirby.
I have a little strange, I love a good David Mamet film.
Right.
Where is that? Everyone kind of has the same kind of. They all chat the same. They all grew up in the same neighborhood. And that's what I kind of like about it. Like it's a whole David Mamet world that as far as I know, no one else lives in.
As far as we know.
As far as we know, obviously David Mamet knows.
The guy lives in Massachusetts, for God's sakes.
So that's why. I mean, you're originally from.
I'm originally from Massachusetts. I know where he lives. I know where his. I mean, I don't know where his house is specifically, but I could drive there.
Mm-hmm. Green Knight piece would be cool.
I think this guy, Thunderhouse Design, would prefer your Green Knight thing over a Starbrand or Jack Kirby series. Room.
Yeah. Look at that. Mark's. This is why I love Mark.
He's positive.
Mark's an awesome guy.
You know what? It's not the first time I heard it. The people like the way I say, you want to hear my fun celeb story of the night?
Yeah, we'll end with that one.
Well, maybe I shouldn't.
Why not? We can save that because, John, I got a feeling the internet's going to be a buzz about this episode.
This I'll tell you, because of the people watching. This story involves close personal friend Eli Roth, the director of Hostel and the upcoming Borderlands movie.
Mm-hmm.
And our Passover, and I can't say the rest.
Also a character in Inglourious Bastards.
And also a character in Inglourious Bastards. That's true.
I sometimes see him doing the punchy punch stuff at the gym.
And the guy who created the Inglourious Bastards also was there. That's part of the celebrity story.
So this story that you have involves Eli.
Yes.
Quentin Tarantino.
Yes.
And yourself.
Yes, it does. It has all three of us.
John, that can be.
I'm not going to tell you.
No, you're not going to tell us now, but that could be the title for the very next episode.
John's
but we're also going to. I'm going to somehow convince Josh to be on the show, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show him this show. I'm going to go, and then he'll probably be like, "I'm in. I got to be on your next show."
Oh, I've got to be part of whatever this is.
Yeah, that was pretty stunning. Dan, let me get in.
What I'm doing,
Yeah.
That's what he's gonna. Just to hear the rest of the story about like, I'll give you the punchline though. I'll give you the punchline.
Wait a minute. So you're going to tell the ending of the story before? Okay, that's fair. People like that.
How about you become the Cub Jew? That's the
interesting.
That's the
so that's how it ended.
That's how it ended. That story ends basically.
This is going to be good, John. I got a feeling this is going to be the next episode's like this. How would you rate this episode so far?
I mean, 8.73 repeating. You know, I don't know. It's
have you seen the other? There's only been like 3 episodes besides this one of Roadhouse.
I haven't seen the others. Are they as intriguing? Did they talk about Kirby as much?
No, it's never. I mean, Jack Kirby, the artist. Not too many people. I mean, it's a very eclectic.
Starbrand has come up.
Starbrand has never come up in any conversation in the past 20 years in comics.
I need to see. Josh and I do need to be on the podcast together because I have some questions about masculinity that only he can answer.
I can't answer, but I'll tell you this: Josh knows more about comic books than I do. That's how I became friends with him.
Okay, but here's the question: has he heard about Cyforce?
Probably. I mean, the things that man says, I just.
You know what Cyforce is?
Yeah. I don't remember who drew it, but I remember that it was a New Universe book.
You're telling me that, and that's true. Hickman did revive Starbrand for Avengers. That's correct. That person's 100%.
Wow. Hickman. Oh,
there's no lies detected in anything that man said.
Oh, look who it is! It's Mark Sable, your good friend. Wait, let's go back to Mark Sable. Can we recap the entire video so far? He's asking.
I told him the Chris Claremont story,
and Mark, I told him up all sorts of good stuff.
The Bad Rock Highway story.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. So we'll have Josh on. I might not have him watch this episode. I'm just gonna get him. No reason. And
by the way, you should.
Josh puts up a lot. Right now he's in Vegas, and a fighter that he's been working with is breaking into the UFC. It's his debut UFC fight this weekend.
Josh has an amazing sense of humor. Like let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah, but have you ever upset him?
I try not to, but
that's pretty wise.
But I haven't upset him. We've mostly
Ted has a 5 out of 10 Greg Capullo's episode.
That's pretty good.
Because you're only half a Greg Capullo. You're half a Greg Capullo, according to right.
I'll take being half a Greg Capullo. Are you kidding me?
John, what if God, this is probably unethical because
half of Quasar Greg Capullo.
John, I know you like to play by the rules.
Always.
Right.
Always. If it says don't step on the grass, I don't step on that grass.
Exactly. So, and I want to get the ratings on this show. I want to get more subscribers. I'm crazy about the like button on YouTube.
Right.
Do you think it's unethical if the next time you're on the show next week, instead of John Davis, we just say you're the what was it, half-assed Greg Capullo? What was the?
Oh yeah, if you said down on his luck, Greg Capullo is going to be on the show.
With down on his luck, Greg Capullo,
which you might have to specify isn't like a recently divorced Greg Capullo, but actually me. You know, that's the problem.
I'll tell you this about Greg Capullo. No one loves their wife as much as Greg Capullo loves his wife.
No.
That man's not getting a divorce.
Never.
No, he's crazy about his wife.
I've only heard great things about their relationship.
Greg is yeah.
Wherever I am, they're always talking. Oh,
so already you've failed at being Greg Capullo.
No.
Yeah,
I don't.
By way of the fact that you're divorced and that Greg is not.
Right, that's true. But I'm going to go out with a 6'3" woman on Thursday. How
tall are you, John?
A 5'6".
Okay.
On a good day.
See, this is a good question for Josh next week. Can you hold off on the date for a week or so?
I wanted to ask Josh about this date because this is an odd date, you know. Like,
all right. Well, there's a lot of exciting things for next week.
By the way, And I can tell you this, and I'm not going to tell you where the source of this is from, but I've heard, and I don't know where I heard this from, but I've heard Greg Capullo's wife is an amazing person. And
John, you heard that
not
right here
only
because I posted it.
Oh.
Sorry to yell. Every now and then we get into like horrible arguments, you and I.
I've just heard she's a great person. That's what I've heard. I don't know where I've heard it from, but it has definitely been
recent.
Bandied about town, so to speak. The talk of the town, everywhere you go.
So I think I haven't put all the chat up here and people can review it, but I think it's pretty unanimous that
does Mark have a story? Oh, if you have me on, I can tell the story of the time I dropped a glass and showered Capullo with a drink.
Oh, wow.
Ricky Lindholm is 5'8".
That's an interesting. That could be a very interesting story because we already know that the glass showered Greg Capullo, but how did Greg react? Don't tell us, Mark.
You don't know how. Don't tell us what happened.
No,
because Greg Capullo.
I'm looking for John. I'm looking for material, and that's material.
I gave you some material. I said not till next week, or am I going to tell my Quentin Tarantino story?
Yeah, that's going to be great. Next week is going to be insane.
People are going to go nuts next week.
I mean, we probably already have like a gazillion likes.
People have.
One.
Yeah, it's going to.
I think the subscriber base is like,
People have been. Yeah, people could not have been more thrilled with this episode.
Yeah. You know what's good though? I did do a little drawing though. Wait, let's see.
It looked great. You've captured Walter's anger and the confusion of
Donny.
Ted Rural Gentleman Leframboise, if I'm saying that right. I'm sorry for butchering her name.
Yeah. Look at that. He goes, I wish next week was now.
He wishes the world could turn. He wishes time could move forward, is what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna work on Donny a little bit here, because I think I got Walter down, but I'm gonna work on Donny a little bit more. But I'm happy I got some drawing done.
Right.
And I think next week is going to be crazy.
Next week is going to be insane in terms of like.
Well, thanks, John, for being a guest. The special guest would have been your son, who might be watching Scooby-Doo or something like that in the next room.
He's playing Splatoon.
Or watching an A24 film.
I can bring him in, but it might be too. Henry! Nah. Come here for a second.
Do you think this is going to make him a lot of people, celebrities will not put their children on the air because they're like, oh no, now what? Look at that.
Henry, come in here for a second. We need you.
We need the star power.
You can't.
He's busy. All right. Well, that's also for next week.
Okay, that's also for next week.
John, I'd like to thank you for being our guest.
No, thank you for having me.
All right. I know you're busy all the time with dating Amazon women and what have you, but maybe next week you can find some time and I'll do my best to get Josh on the show.
Awesome. All right. See you guys later.